You are watching Tomorrowpictures.TV.
Great. So, we are rolling. Okay. You're going to look directly in the camera the whole time. And you're addressing people that aren't here. You're talking out into the universe. So the first thing I want you to do is to say your name and where you're from, and a little bit about yourself as far as like where you are in your life, what you're doing, sort of your current state of mind or headspace, because I think that it has a lot to do with this experience as well.
Hello, my name is Robert Takeo Namba. I was born May 11th, 1965 in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm a third generation Japanese. My mother's Japanese and my father is Irish Catholic. I left Hawaii when I was about 3 years old. My father was in the service, so we moved back to the East Coast. My parents then separated and my father was restationed in San Diego, where I went to school in San Diego, kindergarten, first grades. There he retired and we moved permanently back to New York. At that time, my mother never left New York, so she was living in New York City, and I was with my father in upstate New York where I went to school. During that time, I would visit my mom back and forth on vacations.
Okay. I started out, I graduated high school here in the States in 1974. 74, I believe it was. And I enlisted in the Marines on a reserve component in 74. In those days, they had a delayed entry program. It was called delayed entry. And so I went from the Marines from 75, but then I went on active duty in 78, actually. And then let's see, I was from 78 to 82. 78 to 82. And then from there, I came out of the Corps and I went on to the Navy. And then I stayed in the Navy for what we call a stint. And then that was in the early 80s. I'm not exactly the year I came out. I think it was 1991. And then from there, I went on to the Army in 1996. And then I stayed in the Army till 2010, and then I served on the reserve component for my last 2 to 3 years.
How much they prefer my hair short, like seriously stressing how much better I look with it shorter. One woman even went so far to drunkenly blurt out she'd totally do me if my hair was shaved off, in parentheses, wasn't interested either way. Which makes me wonder if these women were attracted to my exoticism of my heritage until confronted with my blackness in the form of my kinky fro. That's my more recent one. 4 in the morning, being irritated.
These white women.
I love them, but don't tell me to cut my hair.
So when I talk about what I do, so this is always the question on these type of things, like you want me to focus more on like my part-time teaching work versus acting, or mention both.
You can mention both. Focus on the things that are of value to you. You know, whatever is of value with your part-time teaching work, talk about. Whatever is of value with your acting, talk about. You know, the part about acting that's like all the stuff you've been in that you think is kind of lame.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
But some of the things that you've possibly done with your acting that you're very proud of are of interest to us as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. So this is about like what you're doing with your life that matters, the relevant stuff. You know, we all do a certain amount of irrelevant things in life, but this interview is really about like, you know, you continuing to build your own personal legacy. So the things that you care about, things that matter, things you share with your children, grandchildren, all that kind of stuff.
So I had a very diverse kind of upbringing because with my father, I was pretty much brought up like Irish Catholic. with my mom, I got the Japanese side of the family, whatever. So the one thing I did encounter with my family, though, was that there was a lot of prejudice and racism on my father's side of the family. So I can say that it wasn't the best of times, but I had a lot of good friends. I excelled well in school. However, at this time, I also knew that there was something different about me. And it wouldn't be till later that I figured out that I was gay. Growing up in upstate New York was pretty hard. It was a very white-dominated place. I was pretty much the only minority in school. However, I did make a lot of friends. We were very close. I'm still very close with them now.
Tell me why you enlisted.
I couldn't sing. There's no saying in the service I couldn't sing or dance. That's why I went in the service. The reason why I went in the service initially was because I wanted to be like my father, and I wanted to be like my uncles. They were all, as I previously stated, they were all military men. And many of my aunts served in the what they call the WAC Corps at the time. It was segregated, and they used to tell me the stories of segregation in those days. But I wanted to be like my father and my uncles, and that was really my reason for going in the service.
It's okay to be different.
Why is it okay to be different?
Because that's what makes the world go round. It makes life interesting. Not everyone should have to adhere to a set standards of normativity. There's always going to be people that diverge from it. And if we try to force people into those specific pigeonholes, then you're forcing conformity. That end up being your first question?
Oh, yeah. Talking about... You're a good subject.
Because I rant.
Yes, you do. You do it really well. It's hysterical. It's awesome. All right. Tell us about yourself.
My name is Patricio Manuel. I go by Pat. They also call me Cacahuate or Peanut because my head is so small. I'm basically a queer trans person of color. I grew up in in Gardena specifically, called Long Beach my home though, and I box.
I'm Dawn Douglas, and I am from a small town in Kentucky, but I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia for the past 15 years. I moved here looking for more opportunities in a larger metropolitan area, and career-wise, I've always been a teacher and an entertainer, so I enjoy helping people and also entertaining people. And I teach psychology on the college level, and I'm also involved in my church. And just in the past year, I've become involved in missions work, and I've had the opportunity to go on a teaching mission in Central America last summer. But that encouraged me to go on more mission trips, and what I saw or what I experienced the first time was that on the teaching mission trip we weren't addressing people's physical needs, and I felt that there needed to be more of that in addition to helping with emotional and spiritual needs. So I just happened to be at church one day and saw in the bulletin that there was going to be a medical mission trip to Haiti, and I never thought about going to Haiti, but just felt strongly called or urged to go to attend that meeting, and I just knew that day that I needed to go to Haiti and experience life there and also providing medical care for the people. Can we take a little break? I'm not sure if I veered off in the wrong direction if you wanted me to go there yet.
You are watching Tomorrowpictures.TV.